Now, Sarah, you're talking QR or quick response codes. Now, I know we see more and more of these all around us on packaging and branded products, but how can they enhance teaching and learning in the classroom?
We've been looking at ways in which they can be used as a tool to engage children in their learning. So we looked at QR codes that were linked to videos that are available just over the internet. We've looked at Gary Lineker speaking in Spanish. We've looked at all sorts of videos of intercultural understanding. So just ways of engaging the children with foreign languages. Then we've also looked at different ways of using QR codes to enhance displays. So the children can be engaged with their learning, so they instead of just a display being there in the background, they've actually got to physically go and pick something up, go and look at the display, perhaps find out some more information from it, perhaps it's led them off to do a new challenge. And also we've been looking at how they can be used to enhance teaching and learning, specifically in terms of setting challenges for the children, allowing the children to be independent in their learning, so that you can set a task, perhaps a differentiated task, where their listening is controlled by a QR code, and they then perhaps write down a sentence or mimic a sentence that they've listened to, and then even record evidence of themselves as sort of the outcome. And then as a teacher, even if you didn't get a chance to listen to the children perhaps in the teaching time, is that if you've got a QR code that links to the work that they did, then you can easily access it again at a later date.
And it's very interactive for the children as well, and they must love that kind of third dimension almost of their learning.
There is, and there's lots of the examples we looked at, which were children being really, really independent, so that they're not being teacher-led, although the impetus might have been teacher-driven, that actually once they get into the learning and the exploring activity, that they can be really, really independent. And actually for those of them who need a little bit more help, it's the way you can watch something or listen to something over and over again without interfering with anybody else's learning. And also for those of them who are ready for more work, actually it's an easy way as well to provide extension activities for them to do as well.
If you've got teachers who think, oh, there's just so much new technology about, and QR codes have completely passed me by, how do you sort of get over that hurdle, or that kind of fearfulness perhaps of yet another technology?
I think when you actually see some of the things that the children create with them, then that's a way of kind of actually going, this isn't that difficult. And certainly there are one or two apps and websites out there that, because they generate the QR codes so easily for you, that you're not having to understand, in a sense, the technology that lies behind the fact that this black and white pattern actually leads you off to somewhere else. Then that's what makes it really powerful, and also means that it's much easier to say, I can see what the children are getting out of it, and if it doesn't cost me a lot in terms of time and effort to get to that point, then why wouldn't I do it?
By including these QR codes in activities, for example, treasure hunts, speaking and listening activities, and also, as you mentioned, interactive displays, do you find they become a recognised tool for resourcing for the pupils to naturally go and use in their sort of continued learning?
I think more and more they will do, and I think the more we get children used to them, that quite a lot of children already are used to seeing them. People even mentioned in the workshop that you see them on bus stops these days. What's a QR code on the bus stop? Well, probably it's instead of the bus timetable, and it's a much quicker way of, and if it's a dynamic one, it also allows the person who provided it to keep something much more up to date. So I think because they're out there and the children see them more and more, is that actually they're almost expecting them, and I think if you presented them to a group of children, they would be far less worried about using them than the adults are about creating them.
I think the parents are quite pleased as well, because the children can explain to the parents what these codes are.
I'm looking forward to actually being able to use a QR code to send a piece of information home. I haven't tried it before, but so often we say to people, go to this website, you'll find some advice about something. But because URLs are so long and complicated to get to the very specific bit of the website you want, you say, go to BBC Bitesize and look up geometry. And the parents have got to go, well, which bit of geometry, which year group, which aspect of geometry do you want me to look at? Because it's so complicated if you try and just give a URL to direct people specifically to one very narrow bit of a website. But if you found that narrow bit of the website, that's the one bit you want them to do, if you turn that URL into a QR code and send the QR code home, that's so much easier and more straightforward than people typing in these long strings of gobbledygook will ever be.